Hey there, YouTube friends. Masked Bandit here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I always do appreciate it. Welcome back to Conifer Slopes, episode 39. Didn't think we'd ever get that far. And oh boy, we got a big one today. We are going to be tackling this water ride and trying to make it look pretty much complete. Some other things on the docket first, though. Main big thing in this part of the episode. I have gone ahead and tackled the interior of the gift shop that Nerd Chacho had left for us. So let's take a quick look at what I did with that. Let's jump right in right away. And so we just dolled it up a little bit. I wanted to keep everything he had, including the functionality of the building, but I wanted to give it a bit of an interior here, which I think is pretty good. I opted not to use any TMTK because I find it to be really kind of tedious to put together, and since it's not something that's everywhere in the park right now, it wouldn't have been the best use of my limited time. So I used the M-Stankow set that I love to death, and I put them in everywhere. And look, the mannequins are still moving. I forgot to turn them off. Pretend they're turned off. But now you can see lots of great things to sell, like YouTube buttons and purses and fireworks. Yeah. But we have balloons, hats, and gifts, all three located here. Hopefully everyone, when they get off of the hag, is just super excited to buy something. We'll see what happens. Probably going to go in and change up the hats that are for sale like I plan to do. That'll be a final details thing to do, though. So yeah, this is just a little bit. Didn't change anything, just added on to what Nerd Chacho had already had. So yeah, that's that. And that brings me to this behemoth. In a previous episode, we went ahead and we named this water ride Will-o-Wisp Bog, and we came up with a story about kelpies. Now, again, I am not an expert in folklore, especially Irish folklore, so our kelpies, I don't know. It was kind of conflicting. In our story, kelpies are malevolent. They are not nice, and they are luring you in to the dark and distorted part of the Feywild. And while you briefly escape, you inevitably are called back in, and that's where you see the kelpies' true ambitions, which is destruction and your death. So, yeah, we started the joys of curbing, yum yum yum, or trenching, custom trenching. You love to see it, said nobody ever. And we have our awesome, I know I've said these in the last episode, the Swiss's mushrooms, which are just fantastic. And you'll notice we have an entry into a little area here. Ooh, isn't that cool? And we also have one of our little time machines, which I kind of like being visible. I think that's a nice little quirk that we're going to keep visible here. Just to make it, to ground this in reality at least a little bit. Still got a lot more work to do up here, but you'll see there's stuff in there. So let's switch it to nighttime, and let's take a look at the interior. There's only two scenes. Let's take a look at the first scene. And immediately upon entry, you have the spooky red eyes of our kelpies, and they are staring at you, calling to you, and you realize that they probably have nefarious purpose. Oh, we gotta cover up that wall. But this took a while. This took a bit to figure out what I wanted. You see the one skeleton hanging here. A little bit of foreshadowing, perhaps, for what's coming in the future. But yeah, we got this. Still have some prettiness. We've got a little bit of our lights back there and a little bit of the fireflies, but we've got this skeleton. And I love the idea of the singular lantern calling to you as your last final escape. But then we also have a shadowy figure, maybe the kelpie's true form or something. I'll put in the description below creator of that TMTK piece, because it's just really cool. So you follow the light of the lantern and you escape, and that brings you back out into the area between the coaster Conifer Downs. Let's take a look at where we go from here, because this took a long time to get looking good, and I don't do dark rides very often, and so this was a struggle for me, and I'm happy with it. I think it looks really cool. I actually was looking a little bit at Splash Mountain or Tiana's Bayou, Splash Mountain before it was Tiana's, just to reference what it might look like what the interior might actually look like. So that's what I came up with, and I think I'm pretty happy with it. And now we need to move on to cleaning it up and adding the next scene and just making it all pretty. I underestimated just how much I got done in a day. I must have hit a groove, because look, we have a whole building now here that the flume goes through. Oh my goodness, that's incredible. And we have doors. Wow! Yeah, so I found these awesome TMTK doors that go up. I've synced them so that it doesn't, you don't go through them. And hopefully that will work better when the park is actually open and there's people on it, so that they don't go every 5 seconds. Because you know how long it takes for peeps to get on and off rides. But yeah, now it goes into that area and it pops out the back. It is all rough and ready. You really can't be looking too hard there. Details aren't in yet. It was really hard to build this under the wooden coaster. But now you pop out here and we've got a little bit of shrubbery and rocks, and then it just goes up. It just goes straight up. And I started planting some plants, as we do. And these are some, you know, I figured they would clear out this area when building the park, because the whole park was supposed to be kind of forested. And these are probably some of the bigger ones they left when designing the ride, because I don't know if the log flume would be older than the coaster. Like this, honestly, the timeline makes absolutely no sense anymore with how crazy this area has gotten. But the idea here is that some people have suggested that maybe this was a reskinning based on the rides. Maybe this whole Fay area was a reskinning with the introduction of the invert, which would mean that this coaster this log flume's probably older than the coaster, or very similar in age. So, and then they just retrofitted this theme. I don't know. I haven't really given it much thought, and I'm not really gonna, because I'm just having fun. Just having fun. But we have another little area to scope out. So, as I said, you are lured in by the Kelpies, and then you escape into this area, which is just going to be a pretty garden area here. And then you are dragged back in. Let's take a look at what the other scene looks like. And as we enter, we see our Kelpies once again. And it is far foggier and spookier, and everything is dead and bad. This is the nightmare part of the Fae. Look, you see the red eyes up there. You've got animated skeletons, spiders, cobwebs. It's all bad. Everything in here is bad. Pile of bones, hanging corpses. And then you have the Kelpie ready to consume you before you escape into the darkness. So yeah, this came together pretty quickly once I knew that I wanted it to be claustrophobic and thorny and bad and mostly shrouded in mist. I love the eyes right there. I think that's so good. And then you get both pairs as the skeleton and all that. Just enough movement. I think it's pretty good. Just enough movement. And then that Kelpie there with the red. I just think that looks so spooky. I don't know how true to the real lore. I'm going to guess not very. But it just, when I was dealing with such a limited, options here, that's the best that I could do. And then you exit and you turn and you have quite an elevated time because you got to get all the way back. Really the only way I could fit it in. And then you do your splashdown. So that is what we're working with here. And then I took the time to go ahead and encase it all. And you really can only see the bare bits there. And maybe if you're looking for it, a little bit as you're driving around. But for the most part, it's hidden pretty well, the backstage building. We can doll it up more probably in another episode, but this is it. This is the area here. And we've got some doorways. We've got this ladder to get up there if you need to service this stuff up here. Just threw down some bits and bobs to make it look presentable. And now this is our backstage area, and you can see there's a large gate here that you could probably get bigger things through. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I don't do this very often, this whole backstage thing, or this whole indoor ride thing. So just borrowing a little bit from Fisherman, whose ride is all the way over there. But yeah, just a little tiny. It's very small. I was pretty pleased with how small. I think I like that it doesn't take up a ton of space. Here's what it looks like with the lights on. Not as cool with the lights on, obviously, but still pretty fun. And then right over here is the other side. I mean, they are on top of each other. I had to really make sure that we didn't bump that we didn't bump into, that we didn't have any pieces where they didn't belong. So, and now that that's done, now that the actual ride, the interior, it's time to work on the exterior, and we're also going to be getting the most of the station area done before we call it a day. So let's jump ahead and take a look at what happens to this area here next. So the file loaded in like this, and it made me sad, because I was like, oh, nothing changed. But then I went over here, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. So this is the outside part here of our log flume. Shout out to Pebbles, hashtag Pebbles, love some Pebbles. And just some real simple gardening. I didn't want it to be Fae themed out here, I just wanted it to be just a beautiful little trip through a garden. Is it, I mean, yeah, I know it completely breaks the immersion of the ride, but honestly, I kind of like that jankiness of it. Like, this would, I think, solidify the idea that it was re-themed, but only enough where it's in the land. I don't know. I like it, though. It's pretty. It's nice. I have to have the fountains that spray you as you go by, as any good water ride would have. But yeah, we use some of N7's trees. He calls these junipers, I think is what he calls these. They're basically just the cypress on their side, but they look nice, and they're easier than me doing it by myself. So I did that, and just foliaged it in a bit. Left lots of open space, though. I thought that would make sense. And then to show that they carved out some of the forest, I did try to reforest a little bit, not super heavy. And I think in our touch-ups, in our final touch-ups when we're going through and doing all this, we'll do all this. We'll make all this look really nice so that the train, maybe we'll even do a scene. I don't know, that might be too much, but we might do a scene for the train here. Like I said, this is probably going to be some backstage. This is going to be some backstage. We'll do some backstage here. So that's what we're looking at in the future. But for right now, it's just quaint little river ride, quaint little log flume. I think it's pretty. I hate custom troughing, just so y'all know. Custom siding. But I do it. I do it because it is well worth it. And this picture right here, I think that's really great. I really like it. We used the dark leaves and the quote ferns from the jungle pack here to really sell the idea that this is a little shade garden from this huge oak tree. And everything else is just small, low maintenance planting, because I think it'd be an absolute pain to get back here. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot, but this stuff takes time. I had to really do the terrain quite a bit, had to play with terrain, and then I didn't like the gap, and I wanted to have a little bit of extra buffer between the trough and the actual grass. So that's where the pebbles came in, and then I raised the terrain around it to give it this nice shaping here. So it just felt secluded. It felt like its own special thing, and that really helped. And then just doing the pebbles right here where it's super narrow, I think really looked good with these small little plants in here. Yeah, I couldn't be more pleased with how this turned out. And now the last little bit to share with you is going to be what we have for the station and the queue. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not completely done. Still doing some work with it, but I needed to stop. And with my schedule the way it is, once I get to a certain point, as long as I have enough to make a video, I will make a video even if we don't get a completed project. So you will see the absolute completed project probably next time. I'd say we're about 85% of the way there. But anyway, before I get ahead of myself, we need to take a look at what I'm even talking about. So up next is the station and queue area, and we'll see how far we get on that coming right up. Alright, so hopefully you can see there's been some substantial changes here. The custom troughing always takes a while, but we did get it all done, look, all the way through. And we covered up this bridge. I had to have a covered bridge so people don't hurt themselves or the people. And this is one of the few log flumes I've actually done that has pretty good clearance through here, so yay me for that. Simple stone bridge with a little covered area here. You can see this is what it looks like. We have our archer for scale to make sure everything's on the up and up. Through tons and tons of lily pads in the water with this fountain here. And then tried to do this like dilapidated structure thing kind of going on in the queue here. All kinds of different fences, just kind of throwing everything at the wall. Just kind of getting all kinds of mixed up. And then I love the skull. Like it's a pirate piece, but I don't care. I think it's really cool. I don't think I've ever used this piece before. And we're using some TMTK logs And we're using some spooky spider webs. I'm going to do some more to this. This needs some more love and attention, as you can see. It's very bare bones. We're going to do something right here, too. We're going to build some more structure here, maybe make it look a little more falling apart-ish. But the thing is, the boats stop right under here, which is what I really wanted. We'll probably have to cover up the attendant, too. We want them to be comfy. We don't need anybody getting a sunburn out here. But yeah, threw some plants around. Really tried to bog it up, since that is the name of the ride. Just straight up threw stuff in the water over here. But I dig it. I think it sells the bog vibe, which is what we're going for. But yeah, you can see some custom fencing here. Cleaned this whole area up here, so you get a little view of the flumes as they go by. One of the things, I forget who I was watching, but they were talking about using the same materials in an area to kind of make that area feel cohesive. And so this fencing is used right here. It's just redone. It's just remade a little bit. It's a lower version, and here's a little bit higher version of the same fence. So trying to use the same fences. Obviously, the foliage is very similar throughout this area. Just given the same vibes throughout. So, yeah, I know there's a lot done. You all know that this takes time, but I wish this looked more like pizzazzy and wowy, you know what I mean? So, oh well. But what a downer to end the episode. We have to clean this up. This will be what we start our episode with next time. We'll finish this whole area, and then I'm going to make a checklist. I'm going to have to make a checklist of things that we have to finish. I know we have to name these. Got a cup. I think I know what I'm going to name this round hut. Haven't named it yet, but I think I know what I'm going to do. That will also for sure be in the next episode. Do you have a name for the gift shop? If not, we'll just call it like Hag Gifts or Fae Gifts or something like that. Yeah, and then it's just absolutely small details throughout. And maybe we'll make a whole episode of just that. Maybe we won't. I'm not sure. I'm going to go through with a fine-tooth comb and make a checklist of all the things that need to be done before Conifer Slopes is done. But it's going to get there. We're going to get it done. And I'm going to be so very excited. I'm very pumped to have this ride this close to completion. This is easy to do. This isn't going to take long at all. So I am very, very, very excited for that. Hopefully you are also very, very, very excited for that. And why don't we end today with a POV of Will-o-Wisp Bog. I think that'd be a great way to end this video. I hope you liked the video. If you did, do hit the like button. Comment below what's your favorite part. What are some things we need to do to fix up the park? What are some things you've noticed that need cleaning up? Just get in the comments below. Tell me what you think. With all that said, have yourself a great day, great night, great whatever, and I will see all of you for the next episode of Conifer Slopes. Take care, everyone, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.